What's going on, everyone? So LeBron James was absolutely spectacular in these Olympics, playing for Team USA. I mean, look, best player in the world. He won the MVP, right? Say what you want, whatever you think. One guy won the MVP, and his name was LeBron James. One guy was the best player in the world, took on the gold, playing for the best team in the world, with the best players in the world, and stood out head and shoulders above all of them. All of them. I mean, even guys like Jokic. Biggest game up to that point. Game on the line. LeBron James says, I got him. Not Embiid, not Bam, not AD, not anybody. Although, Kerr, that game, didn't play AD a ton, which bothered me. But nonetheless, I digress. LeBron James said, don't worry about it. I got it. Defended Jokic, scored the same number of points, out-rebounded him, out-assisted him, out-everything, outplayed him. And, again, won the MVP, right? I know a lot of people, Steph, this, that, and the other. Well, one guy won it. However you feel about the guy, he won it. There's all the talks about, the NBA it's not a world sport, it's not this, it's not that. Well, guess what was? The Olympics. The Olympics was. It is the world. He just won MVP of the world in the game of basketball. LeBron James was spectacular, and he was the best player. Head and shoulders, by far. He led the team in every category but scoring, because Steph had that huge scoring outburst the last two games, but was only 0.6 points behind him. So less than a point behind Steph, and led them in like every other category. and people are trying to say like he was the best player. Like, again, Steph was amazing. And look, everybody had a part to play, right? Steph, again, last two games, spectacular. Kevin Durant, huge, right? Bam and AD, huge. Embiid, even in that Serbia game, huge, right? Derek White, Drew Holiday, they had their moments too. Like Anthony Edwards, everybody that played a role, played it perfectly. Right? Even Tyrese Halliburton, is on X, Twitter, joking around about how, like, when you're part of the group project and you don't, I'm paraphrasing, but, and you don't do any work, but you still get an A type thing. But he still played a role, right? He didn't complain. He didn't cry. He was up every time, whatever you need, I got you. Like, everybody played a part. And yet the two Laker guys stood out head and shoulders above everybody. Again, LeBron James was the best player in the world and the best player on Team USA, which is stacked with, the top player on every team in the NBA. And he was the guy. Everyone deferred to him, right? And then arguably the second best player was Anthony Davis. And I think there's a real genuine argument. I mean, if you're talking about start to finish, from first exhibition game all the way to the gold medal game, Anthony Davis was arguably the second best player. Again, Steph, I understand it's what have you done for me lately, but there was genuine conversation that Steph Curry, like, is Steph washed? Like, what's going on with Steph? Like, we need to pull him out of the starting lineup. I can't believe Steve Kerr keeps playing Steph so much. He's a liability on defense. He can't score on offense. He's really struggling. Boom. And yes, the last two games he was spectacular in the two biggest games of the entire thing. Absolutely spectacular. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take anything away from Steph. He deserves all the love, all the praise, all of it. But Anthony Davis, from start to finish, was massive. Won games for us. Got defensive stops and rebounds and all kinds of stuff. I mean, what was it, that one South Sudan game? Anthony Davis, the one that rotated, that got the stop, that won us the game. Right? Like, again, this Anthony Davis was the guy. Joel Embiid, heavily outplayed him. Yes, Joel Embiid was huge in that Serbia game, but again, start to finish, Anthony Davis was the guy. I'm old enough to remember when everybody was like, why is Joel Embiid even playing? You might as well start Bam and AD. Like, what are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. Like, KD probably would have been the second best player, like, consistently throughout, but he was hurt, right? Like, you go down the list, and there is a genuine argument that Anthony Davis was the second best player. And the whole hierarchy, right? The pecking order of big men. Just based on not even just the Olympics, which, again, was incredibly impressive, but even just the last, year and a half, Anthony Davis has played the most games, and he has been dominant, dominant on both sides of the basketball. I mean, this guy is the best defensive player. The only guy in the NBA last season that you could argue was as good or better than Anthony Davis defensively was Victor Wembanyama. By the eye test, by metrics, by everything. Right? I know Rudy Gobert won it, but Anthony Davis was the better defensive player. He's more versatile. He just has a bigger impact, all of it. Right? But Minnesota also was the best overall defensive team in the league, and that's usually how it goes. Right? I know it's supposed to be an individual award, but there were 5 other players that were better in every category than Rudy was as far as defenses go. But just like when Marcus Smart won a couple years ago, everybody was like, that was a team award. Just Marcus Smart was the foundation of that defense, just like Anthony Davis is. And what's crazy is, as good as Victor Wembanyama is, Anthony Davis is probably never going to win a Defensive Player of the Year award. Unless the Lakers are by far the number 1 defense in the league, which I don't think is going to happen. It's just unfortunate that he's just not going to win one. They're not going to give it to him. And it sucks. Because he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. And it's not frustrating right now. I mean, it is frustrating right now, but everybody, even non-Laker fans, even people that hate the Lakers are like, Anthony Davis is the best defensive player in the world, right? Even media heads that can't stand the Lakers are all like, he's the best defensive player in the world. So right now, everybody knows the consensus is he's the best defensive player in the world. But it's the loss in history that sucks, right? Because 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when people are talking about best defensive big men and this, that, and the other, Anthony Davis is going to be an afterthought. Nobody's going to think of him in that category. I just think it's criminal that Rudy Gobert is going to go down as a better overall defensive player all time than Anthony Davis is. And Anthony Davis is far more versatile defensively. I mean, Rudy Gobert is a liability. So much so France didn't even play. They barely played him. Right? They were better with him off the court. Even defensively. Right? I mean, Minnesota, there were questions of man, they're going to have to bench this guy, right? You never have those questions about Anthony Davis. Now, obviously, Anthony Davis is a far better offensive player, too. But still, just the defensive impact. Anthony Davis, by himself, makes the Lakers a serviceable defensive team. And Lakers go from, bottom of the pack to literally, middle, just with AD. We saw Anthony Davis plus Jared Vanderbilt equals top defense in the league. Just with one other guy. Now, imagine if you had 2, 3, 4. That was the idea this last year for the Lakers. Was man, you got Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, Jared Vanderbilt, right? You could even, throw out, Cam Reddish and Anthony Davis and good luck scoring, right? That was the idea. 10 seconds left, you need a stop. You could throw that out there and, let's go type thing, right? But it's just, again, like, I don't know how you look at these two guys and don't think, like, we got to get something done. They were the two best players on Team USA. Anthony Davis outplayed Joel Embiid, outplayed, overall at time. Like, the only one that you really look at and you go, all right, like the only one that I would take over undoubtedly is Jokic. Like, Jokic is the one guy you're like, all right, like, yeah, you're taking him over Anthony Davis. But outside of that, like, again, like, Victor's incredibly, like, if you're building a roster long term, yeah, I'd probably take Victor too. But, just like established guys, right? I'd take Anthony Davis over Joel Embiid. Right now, at least the last year and a half, I'd take Anthony Davis over Giannis. I mean, Anthony Davis has just been unbelievable. Again, on both sides of the, if you talk about both sides of the basketball, I mean, Anthony Davis has just been incredibly dominant. And just, he's been healthy, he's been reliable. There was all those consistency questions and issues and stuff. And you go back to the bubble and in that season, and Anthony Davis, it was like, dude, this guy could be the best player in the world. And then, people had the expectations, myself included, that he would kind of take over the mantle and he would become that guy and he would be the best player in the world. And he didn't. It was like he got worse. It was really weird. And he's now starting to look back to that guy that, that had the conversations of like, hey, this guy could be the best player in the world, right? Like, and Lakers are probably going to need that, right? They're probably going to need Anthony Davis to play like he's, an MVP level season. And I'm hoping that with the success he had on Team USA and just, the confidence he built and all that stuff, I really think that, I think we're going to see a different Anthony Davis this year. I really do. I really think he proved a lot. And I mean, you look at like Carmelo Anthony after the 2008 season, right? You look at like LeBron James even after that season, right? And how he started winning championships, doing all this stuff, right? Really kind of took this next step, this next leap. And then, you look at, Anthony Edwards after FIBA and stuff, right? Like, guys just become better. And I just think Anthony Davis, I could see him just being better, like better than he's ever been, maybe. And look, I'm sure a little optimism, a little hope, right? Sure, it's a combination of things, but I'm very excited for this Lakers season, like genuinely. I think LeBron James and Anthony Davis are going to be great, and I want a trade badly. I do. Now, again, I don't want to trade just for the sake of doing a trade, right? Like, no trade is better than a bad trade. Like, you can always be worse, right? Like, most of us are old enough to remember Luol Deng and Timothy Mozgov, right? Making a move just to make a move. I don't want that to happen, right? But if the right move is there, you got to do it. You got to do it. F them picks, all that stuff, right? Like, get it done. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Again, I really wanted to talk about Anthony Davis, right? Because all the attention, all the focus and everything is on like LeBron and, and then Steph and all those guys. But Anthony Davis deserves some love. And I thought he proved a lot these Olympics. But feel the same way? Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.